Hey guys, so gonna do a quick track walkthrough of VIR here for the Alpha Touring Car Challenge race tonight. So we'll get started with the track temp. I set the session to start about 4 o'clock, so I think that's about when qualifying is. I don't really know, but the track temp to get a little bit warmer up to 32°C. The everything else pretty standard on the setup, nothing too crazy. Did pretty much 6 laps because I did these 5, and then I did a bunch of resets because I wasn't quite happy with how the lap was going, so I just restarted anyhow. But my optimal is down to a 30, no, pretty much what I ran. I think it's 30 or 57 flat or thereabouts. So anyhow, we'll just get right into it. So going into turn 1, you're going to want to, coming across the start-finish line, maximize or minimize the amount of track that you're going to use. So essentially, you cross the start-finish line, and I'm already kind of looking at my braking point, which is this 2 board up here. So just a straight shot from there to there. There's no need to be out here wasting, having to go further. You go a little bit slower. It's not too much time, but it is the small things that make a difference. So just kind of once you cross the start-finish line, the second that you can spot the 2 board, you can kind of see where it is right here. So I'm pointing my car right there. So the braking zone here, I'm looking at this 2 board. I'm going to brake a little bit before it. This turn 1, you have to brake a lot sooner than kind of visually it would seem. For me, it'd be like, oh, you can brake down at the 1, you get a little uphill. But it's a much tighter turn than I always anticipate it being. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to brake about the 210, 215, whatever you want to call that. So get right, the 2 is right there. That's all relative to FOV. But anyhow, it's kind of in the middle between 2 and 3. So what I'm going to do is you're on the far left side of the track. I'm going to actually kind of point my car towards the apex. So I'm not going to just brake in a straight line and hang it out here, then late apex. I'm going to turn in pretty much where, that right-hand arrow is. So it's kind of start cheating yourself towards the apex. The reason being is that the entry for this turn is just so wide that the apex isn't here or even here. It's actually a bit further out here. And then the track is so dirty, there's no rubber out there, there's really no grip anywhere left. So you want to chase this thick rubber strip. That's where all the grip's at in this turn. So here I probably brake a little bit too late because if you notice, I maxed out on the brake pedal pretty much immediately. So that's not ideal. I probably have another half-tenth, maybe a tenth to gain through this turn. So ideally you want to be about 80% on the brake pedal. I was just a little bit too heavy on that. So from 6th gear down to 1st, keep a little bit of trail brake in it. I'm 90 degrees on the wheel, a little bit of trail braking. Then pretty early on, you want to get on throttle. And here is one of the more important turns. So you'll notice what I do with the throttle here is I don't just go full throttle. I go pretty aggressively to half, and I hold it there. Hold it, hold it, hold it, and then I can feel. So when I go to full throttle here, what I'm feeling with my steering wheels, it's staying heavy. So when my steering wheel's heavy, that tells me I have front grip. So then I just kind of manage that front grip. I feel like if I went, right here, if I was 75% throttle or 80% throttle, I would have broke the fronts loose. So it's all part of just feeling where the front's at, and is keeping that steering wheel as heavy as you can. Really makes all the big difference in the world for the grip that you have. So 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So this turn, there's 2 different ways to do it. The way that I prefer to do it is a little bit later apex on this, and you brake a little bit straighter here. So what you'll see a lot of people do, this makes a really good passing zone, is a lot of people will be out here. So I should have done a representative, but instead of entering the turn here, they'll be entering the turn out here. Now, I don't like to do that because the way that this turn, you have to get so far out. Sorry. You have to get so far out here that you're wasting a lot of track time, and the way that these cars rotate in the middle of the turn just doesn't, you don't gain a lot by being out wide, in my opinion. So that's the line that I'm going to run. There's plenty of fast folks out there that'll run a little bit wider. So I'm in fourth, brake in a straight line. So notice here is, see, I have wheel input. Now the second I hit the brake pedal, my wheel's straight. So if I kept this steering input and did this amount of braking, the car would have spun out. So you unload the wheel, brake hard for this turn, and you want to end up kind of just right there. I don't like being too wide for this turn. Basically, right tire's just on this, rubber concrete patch. And you see I maintain a little bit of trail brake, but see how little I turn the wheel. This whole turn. Get on that curb, maximize your exit here. Third gear, this is all third gear. This turn kind of sucks. I brake right when this rubber starts. That's kind of what I'm looking at if I'm in the cockpit view. I'm looking over here, but my peripheral, I'm spotting when this rubber disappears. That's about when I brake. This is also another good passing zone. So here, again, I kind of cheat the inside of the rubber a little bit, so I don't hang it out there. I'm a little bit tighter. Run over this curb, down to second gear. Again, keep the steering wheel heavy. There isn't too much trail braking into this turn, maybe a hair just there to keep it. You see the car rotate over this curb. Now here's really throttle management. This is probably the best throttle management in really, I think, the game for these touring cars. Because this whole time you're always just balancing with the front end. Because what you don't want to do is go full throttle for the first half of the turn. You won't be full throttle here because you can do it, but you want to maximize your exit. So I sacrifice being, I'm half throttle for this, a little bit of full, then I'm half throttle just to maintain so I can have the car in the right position here to accelerate all the way up the hill. So here's all about maximizing your exit speed. It's not really a passing zone, so you don't have to worry about being passed. Really just keep the front of the car heavy here, keep your steering wheel heavy, and if you start feeling it get light, you're going too quick. You're going too quick through the turn because there's no braking, it's all throttle management. So this is really good practice for feeling when the front end of the car is actually going to let loose on you. So we'll just watch, enough talking about it, we'll just watch through the section here. So if you notice there, I had to get off the throttle again. So here I'm full throttle, so what I should have done is made this half throttle a little bit longer, maybe until here, and I then accelerated hard out. So I should have been half throttle and then full throttle here, because if I was full throttle here, my minimum speed is going to be significantly higher through this whole, all the way up until whatever turn that number is. So you can run over this curb. That's about as much curb as you can take on that. You might take a little bit more, but the first 2 laps, really make sure you're not catching a slowdown here, because it's really easy to do, especially lap 1, because then you're trying to serve your slowdown, and there might be 30, 40 guys behind you. So just really make sure that you're, take it easy through there, because you're not going to get passed through the turn, but if you mess up and you get a slowdown, you will get passed down the straightaway. Anyway, this is all full throttle, So, sorry. Here, I just leave it in 5th gear. You could shift to 6th if you maybe got a little bit better exit, you had a less wing, this or that. But I just leave it in 5th gear. First 3 laps, this really isn't full throttle, so take a breather here. You don't want to take a breather here because if you breathe in the middle of the turn, you're going to get that snap oversteer because the front end will dive into the track a little bit. So if you're going to lift for this turn, lift here and then accelerate through it here. Because if you get on throttle with these, it's not going to spin you out. It just gives you a little bit of understeer. So this turn, there's no braking marker, there's no nothing. You're just kind of figuring where you are on the track. You know, you could use these little rubber marks. I don't like using those. I'm just kind of where I'm at. Yeah. So here, 5th gear, down to 4th. So you could brake here and still make the turn, but again, it's maximizing your exit speed. You want to go slow in, fast out. So the goal here is to be full throttle by the time you're at the apex. Like, I should be full throttle here. You know, if I miss it by just a little bit, you know, I had a little bit of margin there. Like, I could have gone full throttle maybe a hair sooner, but that's really the goal. You can gain 2/10, 3/10 through this turn by underdriving in and accelerating hard out. It's also important to accelerate hard out because, again, it's going into another passing zone. This will probably be where most of the off tracks occur, so just kind of manage that throughout the race. This turn, my braking point is this rubber patch right there. The second I hit that, that's where I'm on the brake pedal. Get the car, you know, as far to the left as you can comfortably, because here's one where you really just don't want to dip the corner in the grass and spin out. So I always leave a little bit of leeway because really these cars do step out a little bit. So here it's important, again, steering wheel and brake pedal. The second I hit the brake pedal, watch my steering wheel straight. So here you want to make this as straight as possible. So you give a little, you're turning, find this apex, and don't worry about trying to keep turning with it. Just basically go until you're out here. So get out there, get your left tires onto this rubber. This is just such a tricky turn because it's all about feel. Get out there, and then here I should have been a little bit wider. I would have gotten a better exit out of this turn. So this is not completely optimal. You want to run over that curb, full throttle as soon as you can get it. You know, if you can be on throttle before the turn like this, you'll have a really good run. It's when you're starting to get on throttle here that you get a really long, slow run through the whole back straightaway. So there you go. That's pretty well maximized. You know, maybe I got a 10th in there. So this turn, I do dip a tire in the grass, but here you want to brake. I start kind of turning right before the 2 mark because, again, I don't want to brake in a straight line and then have to turn. I want to brake in a straight line from here. You know, you might be able to see it on the far chase. I don't think so. Let's see if I can figure my camera out. I don't think you can see it. Anyway. But basically, I'm trying to straight line from here to here. I'm trying to straight line brake from this point to over there. You know, obviously that's a curve. You're not going to be able to do that, but that's the goal, is to be as straight as possible. So that way you can get woed up for this turn. So this is just managing the brake pedal, because what you don't want to do, so you see how I have brake pedal in it, and then around this, when I'm actually having to turn the wheel, you're off the brake pedal, you're going over that crest. So just, you're going to use a lot of just kind of maintenance brake pedal just to keep the car situated in the right direction. So I'm hard on the brakes, down into 2nd gear. It's really, really, really important to be on this curve. If you're out here, there's absolutely no grip. You will lose at least half a second a lap if you're wider than, you know, maybe on this line here. So it's really, really important to be on this curb. It's more important to lose a 10th going into the braking zone to make sure you are here than it is to brake as deep as you can. So 2nd gear, full throttle as soon as you can get it. This is full throttle pretty much from lap 1, 3rd, 4th. So here, this is such a fun turn. I think this is the best turn on the track. It just feels like a little roller coaster. It's great. Anyhow, so here I'm looking at this. I'm going to straddle this curb, and then once I get over that curb, I'm going to give a little brake pedal, turn the car to the right, and full throttle. As this is so important to get full throttle before the apex. So here, you cut that a little bit, and you notice I just lift. I don't use the brake pedal here. So a little stab of the brake pedal in a straight line. and then on the throttle as soon as I can get it. And it's not necessarily as soon as you can get it, because here, if I got on throttle here, I would have been understeering this whole way. I can find a lap where you understeer, but you lose so much time. It's incredible if you're on the throttle too soon. So I like to wait a little bit longer and drive hard out of the turn. Keep it underneath. You don't want to be out there by that curb. You want to keep it down here tight so you can accelerate out of the corner. You have forward traction with the tires instead of the car sliding laterally. It's pulling forward. And pretty much all full throttle. You know, pit in. You don't have to do anything different for the last turn for pit in. It's just, you know, maybe throw a message out on the quick dash. Pit in is right there. And here again, just maximize your run to the line. You want to stay as tight as possible. You don't need to be out here, you know, that's where the rubber line's at. Be nice and tight. Cheat it, and then there you go. So I'll just play that lap all through cockpit without me yapping about. And there you have it. So good luck tonight. Hope to see everybody out there, and hope this helps.